Good afternoon. Welcome to Fox 10 Talks. I'm Marc Martinez.
And I'm Ellen McNamara, and welcome back from vacation.
Yeah, I was off all last week, which was really nice. I just stuck around, got stuff done around the house, but the weather was perfect, so that was really nice to just enjoy that.
You look tan.
Thanks. I got some yard work done.
Yeah.
Got some sun out there.
Looks
so
good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to be back, though. I was getting a little bit bored, so here we are. We got a lot to talk about today.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
It's such a sad story involving today's show host Savannah Guthrie's mom, 84-year-old mom.
Yeah, I know. So Nancy Guthrie, I mean, this is breaking. So it happened Saturday night that she disappeared. But it wasn't really revealed until Sunday. Really, Monday, we kind of started hearing a lot more. Today, frankly, this morning was really started, the news kind of started to break. Our Steve Nielsen is in Tucson. And for background for y'all, Savannah grew up in Tucson, and her home has been Tucson. She worked in Tucson, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is home for her. And her mom has talked about how much she loves Tucson and the fresh air of that city. And our Steve Nielsen is actually outside the home where Nancy Guthrie has gone missing, 84 years old. And Steve, if you can hear us, I know the signal's kind of spotty. We're hoping for the best, but unfortunately, the sheriff, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, said this is a crime scene and this is kind of the worst case scenario. Is that right?
Yeah, that was how he described that this morning. And, the timeline of this is really interesting. The last time, as you mentioned, that she was seen was Saturday night. But we don't really know what happened from Saturday night until church on Sunday. It was church at Sunday. She always shows up for that. She wasn't there, so the church alerted her family that she wasn't at church. The family got involved. They contacted authorities about an hour and a half, 2 hours later. So it was a little after noon on Sunday when this search began. And when deputies showed up at that home, according to the sheriff, there was something inside of the home that made them say that this was a crime scene. And although she was not there, Nancy is deemed a missing person right now. They actually called in homicide detectives to investigate that scene, called a crime scene, that home there. So that was when they started this massive search. Helicopters, drones, they were using infrared cameras on the ground. This area here of the Catalina foothills, we're in the northeast area of Tucson. It is, there's a lot of homes here. It's neighborhoods, but it's deeply wooded. There's just so much brush around and mesquite trees and Palo Verde trees that you can't really see much more than a few feet around you from the street. So this is just sort of a tough area for them to be searching here. And then unfortunately at the news conference this morning, we heard the sheriff say that we're going to pause the search. This is moving from more of a search to now more of a crime scene. Well, something changed this afternoon. I don't know what that is. They haven't revealed that to us, but all of a sudden, we saw search and rescue vehicles start to pull up at around 1 o'clock, and we would see deputies get out. They'd put on backpacks, and they'd start going out searching. About 30 minutes after that, the Pima County Sheriff's helicopter showed up. They started circling around the house with the deputy hanging out the side of the helicopter, searching the ground there. So we don't know what information changed. We don't know what they found or uncovered. That's still to be figured out from an update from the Pima County Sheriff, but something has changed, at least for them to restart that search this afternoon. Timing's really important here, guys, for a lot of reasons. One of them, though, we're told that she's in desperate need of her medication. Without it for 24 hours, it could be fatal.
Wow. That is interesting, Steve, though, because I did hear that earlier when the sheriff said that they were pausing the search. It's interesting that you're pointing out that it looks like there's an active search again happening, so some new information must have surfaced. Do you know if the sheriff or anyone is planning on having an update anytime soon, or is it just too premature without any solid information?
We've asked for that. We've reached out on that. They haven't told us yet that there's going to be a press conference yet. We're still waiting for that. We're hoping for that information tonight, especially with the restarted search. The helicopter's not overhead right now, but as we were waiting for you guys here, a deputy actually walked by right in front of the car here with his backpack on and everything. So they are still out here amongst us right now, searching this brushy area.
Yeah. Steve, when the news first broke, I think a lot of us thought, okay, an 84-year-old woman, this could be a case of dementia, for example, and like a silver alert, where someone disappears, and the family and the sheriff, they were clear. This woman, Nancy Guthrie, does not have cognitive issues. That is clear from the very beginning. And they said, yes, she does need medication, but as you pointed out, it is for physical ailments. It is not for anything mental. So that is also very concerning too, because, this is a woman who she does live alone. Is that correct, Steve?
Yeah, you're so right. It's human nature to start making assumptions in these situations, especially when you're talking about an 84-year-old woman. The phrase the sheriff used was sharp as a tack. So definitely that's not the issue here. They said she does have these mobility issues. She didn't leave the home on her own. That much is clear. That was something that the sheriff said. So that's what we know now about that. And again, yes, she is in need of this medication. So I talked to a lot of the neighbors here today, too, in this area. They're all just on high alert. They said that deputies last night were going door to door asking for the Ring doorbell video, going through it with neighbors. I talked with one neighbor who said, he was desperate, hoping that something would show up on his Ring doorbell that he didn't know about. All he saw was a javelina walk by in the middle of the night around 4 a.m. So he was disappointed he couldn't be more helpful. But the sheriff, he has asked, Sheriff Cristianos, if anyone knows anything, please, if you're a couple miles away from here, even further, look at your overnight Ring doorbell, see if anything is suspicious.
Yeah.
And Steve, I know that area where you are. I've been there a few times, and you described it perfectly with a lot of the brush and the scrub and trees that are out there. The homes are not very close together either, from what I can remember, from property to property. Is that the case in that neighborhood?
Exactly. The way it's kind of laid out is you think of your, traditional home with your backyard, maybe gated in, something like that. All of that exists here with, your gate around the backyard. It's just separating each one of those walled and gate backyards is maybe an entire property's worth of brushed area.
Yeah.
So they're very separated here. There's just a lot. There's a lot of area to search, even though you would technically call this a neighborhood.
It's just so mind-boggling what this whole story, and as we always see, when there's a lack of, very clear information about what happened, there's a lot of rumors that get started, and it's unfortunate, especially for the family if they're hearing these things. But it's just so bizarre and unusual, and I think that's why people are really trying to figure out what the heck happened here.
Yeah, and obviously, too, the fact that it is Savannah Guthrie's mother.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the Today Show is putting out information. They're putting out news clips. I mean, they're putting out please let the Pima County Sheriff's Office know anything, if you know any information. And just the fact that, this is a human, this is an 84-year-old woman, but it's also Savannah Guthrie's mother, too. That adds kind of the element to it.
And we understand that Savannah Guthrie is actually, we know she's in Arizona. I'm assuming she's in Tucson now.
Right.
We were reading about that. And
she's supposed to be covering also to the Winter Olympics and the Winter Olympics opening ceremonies. And we've been told that now she's not going to be doing that just because of everything that's been going on, too.
Yeah.
So that's also unfortunate.
And Steve, you mentioned the church. Have you been able to talk to anyone that knows Nancy or anyone at the church about this?
Right now the focus has really been on the search component of this today, as that's broken. But what's been interesting to hear is from Savannah herself. In previous stories she just did for her mother's 80th birthday a few years back. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned this at the beginning, Ellen, just how just lovely and incredible her mom is. Just talking about how she was someone who always did the right thing. And Nancy talked about in that how she just loved Tucson. She loved the fresh air out here. She loved being an Arizonan.
Yeah. And real quick too, Steve, I saw a photo that you put out there on social media of the home, and just this is a home. This is not like a gated community, right? I mean, just as for security purposes, this is a very open community, correct?
Correct. I mean, they're narrow roads here, again, brushy area and everything like that. But no, this is not gated. If you go a quarter and a mile up the road, there's a big shopping plaza here with fast food, things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Steve, thank you for that live report. We're going to be looking forward to you on the news on Fox 10 News. And, we don't know if we're going to have another news conference, but you still got plenty to cover down there. So thank you, Steve. We'll let you get back to work.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I was reading before we came on a little bit about Savannah and her,
Great job, Steve.
her mom. Her dad died when she was 16, Savannah Guthrie's dad. And so she and I believe her sister were living with their mom, of course. She was just going into, I think, her senior year. And she said that, her mom, needed support in the family unit because the dad had just passed away.
Right.
And then when it was time for her to go to college, she lived at home.
Right.
And to be with her mom. Like, she was going to school, but she was going home, not living in the dorms to be close. And then when it was time for her first TV job in Montana, her mom was like, you need to go. Like, go do this.
Come on. I'll be okay.
I think the quote was something like, if you don't feel like you can go off on your own, I didn't do my job, So she sounds like a really wonderful woman. And it's just such a sad situation going on right now.
I know. I think we do have some sound from Chris Nanos, the Pima County Sheriff. Now, this was from this morning.
Yes.
So just kind of, again, and Steve kind of said that there might have been some change, from this morning until late today. But we do want to play just kind of what we have right now to give you that information. So just take a listen, please.
At some time earlier that morning, they got a call from somebody at the church who said, hey, your mom's not here. The family went to the house. I'm thinking they spent some time looking for her themselves before they called us, so I'm guessing maybe they got there around 11. So they did some searching and realized we need some help, and they called 911. Well, I think I told you she is very limited in her mobility, right? We know she didn't just walk out of there. That we know. There are other things at the scene that indicate there was she did not leave on her own. We know that. Number one is public safety. Everybody just wants to be able to know that they can go outside and enjoy their community and come home and be safe at night in their rooms, asleep in bed. And this lady wasn't able to accomplish that. That's a sad statement. We need her back. We need to find her. And time is very critical. She is 84. She needs her meds. Her family needs her too.
Sheriff Chris Nanos talking about the search right now for Nancy Guthrie and saying that she did not leave on her own.
So there was some evidence in that home that led them to say this is a crime scene or crime investigation. And that they do have her phone. The sheriff's office has Nancy Guthrie's cell phone.
Right.
So, again, another mystery there as to what happened.
And again, there was a quote of just that we believe that a crime has happened at that scene right there. So we're going to have much more on this with Steve Nielsen coming up here at 4:00.
Yes.
So keep it right here on the news.
And then when we come back, we're going to change gears here. We're going to talk to Richard Saenz about the Cardinals.
Yeah.
New head coach.
New head coach. And it was also Super Bowl week, too. So, I mean, a lot going on in the sports world as well. Keep it right here.
We'll be right back. Back, everybody. We now we're going to talk about the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
which is it's coming up.
it is. Yeah, Super Bowl Sunday, so like 6 days away now. And I think it's interesting because you have two teams. You got the Seattle Seahawks and you have the New England Patriots, and Seattle is a really interesting team because Sam Darnold is a guy that is a quarterback who was basically discarded from other teams and an older guy. So I think a lot of people are rooting for Seattle right now.
People love that kind of story. I mean, we have sort of this Kurt Warner kind of story in a way.
Yeah.
It's like that same thing where someone comes from seemingly out of the blue and is like, whoa, they surprise everybody.
Right. And actually
the Super Bowl.
Right, absolutely. And what's interesting too is he came from the Vikings, and the Vikings basically got rid of him. They stuck with their current quarterback, and the Vikings GM just got fired because they let Sam Darnold go. So it's really interesting. That's an interesting storyline. And then you have the Patriots, who were horrible, absolutely horrible, and then all of a sudden they hire their coach not too long ago, and now they're in the Super Bowl. So we're kind of curious, in the chat, let us know, do you guys have a favorite, and who are you going for?
And what are you going to do on Super Bowl Sunday? Are you going to have a party? I've covered 2 Super Bowls out here at the stadium, State Farm Stadium, and have you covered the Super Bowl?
I have, with the Chiefs,
Oh, that's right.
So much fun,
And it was so fun. The first one that was here, I think it was 2008. I can't remember exactly, but Richard will know. Yeah, of course, he's an encyclopedia when it comes to all this. But it was really interesting to be there in person. I'm not saying it's better to be at home.
Right.
But, it's such a really big televised event that when you're there in person, they go to commercials, and it's kind of like, at least here, it was like dead in the stadium. Yeah. Because you're not hearing the commercials.
Right.
And you're just like 4 minutes of downtime or whatever it is. But it was really fun to be there. I mean, I was working, but I'm still happy to go. It was, the first time we had one here or at the stadium here.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is like with the commercials are so long, too. Yes. And they have to do all those breaks. The halftime, that's what the guys say, too, is that when you actually play in a Super Bowl, the halftime is so much longer than a regular game that it really throws off kind of their routine.
Sure. Especially if you're having like a real good run right before halftime.
Yeah, definitely.
It could kind of take you out of the moment. That's for sure.
It sure can. Yeah. So this is going to be a really interesting matchup. So we don't have any comments yet about who you guys are rooting for.
Come on over. Look who we have.
Richard has just entered the building. There he is. Yes. Have a seat. Let's get your microphone up here. Here we go.
I love it.
You're running around.
I got the gray suit memo.
Nice.
I want to be like Marc Martinez when I grow up.
There we go.
I didn't get the pocket memo.
We have kind of the Cardinals
there we go.
going on right now. We were just talking about the Super Bowl, Seattle and Patriots, and we were kind of talking about the Sam Darnold storyline, which is interesting just because the fact that he kind of got tossed aside from other teams.
What a great story!
It's a great story.
He's a Cinderella story. That's what you want, in the Super Bowl. And the guy was a top pick. He was, it's funny. He's going to be the first USC quarterback to start in the Super Bowl.
Really?
Right? When you think about the history of that program, that football program, to think Carson Palmer was great there, but he didn't get to the Super Bowl. So Matt Leinart went to USC, but he was the backup to Kurt Warner, but to actually start. And I think the first ginger, too. So we're breaking all kinds of records.
That is funny. And then the Patriots, they were just so bad lately. Right. I mean, obviously the history with Belichick.
Yeah, there's some 6-year-olds that haven't been to a Super Bowl. Poor Patriot fans.
Right.
Talk to Cardinal fans. Talk to Lions fans, people. It's funny because a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to be somebody different. The Chiefs are out. And it's like, the Patriots again?
I know.
Can we get the Bills in there?
I know.
So that's the funny part. But that just goes to show these type of franchises, right? Like the Patriots, like the Steelers, that like the 49ers, that they consistently win, and they don't have too much change, even though the Patriots did make a real quick change at head coach. But I think that's because, Mike Vrabel's available. A guy that used to play for us. A guy that we know what his DNA is like. Let's get him in here and eat some money if we have to, contract-wise, with other coaches to get him in. And it's already paying off.
Yeah, sure is. Okay, so, a lot of people do have their money on Seattle.
Smart money.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, you got to follow the paper trail, and that's the Pope. Every time we get a new pope, we get the Seattle Seahawks as the number 1 seed and in the Super Bowl.
Wow.
It happened.
I told you he was
This
an
is the third time
encyclopedia.
in a row it's happened.
Wow.
Yeah. So it happened with Pope Benedict, happened with Pope Leo now, and and Pope John Paul, right?
Well, there's Pope Francis.
Pope
right?
Francis.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Francis, Benedict, and now Pope Leo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's a really interesting stat. Yeah.
If I would have known that before the season started, once we got a new pope, I would have put the
All your
mortgage
money.
on the
All your
Seahawks,
mortgage.
you know. But the one thing is that there really is the thing is defense. We look at both of these teams. They both Vince Lombardi, who the first Super Bowl trophy is named after with the Green Bay Packers, he always said, "Good offenses win games. Good defenses win championships." And what do you know? Here we are in Super Bowl 60, over half a century later, and it's defense that's still ruling, the wins and losses.
Wow. That's I think it's gonna be a great game, and I don't know. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I think it'll be a great game, low scoring game. I'm going to take Seattle because I think Sam Darnold has really matured, and that was he was a question mark. Can he lead a team to victory? But when you have a defense like this, like Seattle has, all you need is a guy that can be a game manager. But he's actually done more than that. And we've seen, the Baltimore Ravens. They won with Trent Dilfer at quarterback. The Giants won with, Jeff Hostetler at quarterback, just because they had great defenses. And so, but he's actually played well, though. You got to give him credit. He's a big reason why they're there. He played the game of his life against the Rams, and he had to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of the Rams,
we
got somebody that's final, right? We have the head coach.
Mike
now,
LaFleur
right?
has
Mike
been
LaFleur?
officially named as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. Press conference all set for tomorrow. We'll have more stuff during the morning show. Fox 10 Talks tomorrow. I was on Fox 10 Talks earlier. I said I'm not going to pull a Justin Bieber and forget my clothes, so I'm not in my boxers. I'm actually dressed here. I follow the protocol.
Well, we get a ton of ratings, Richard.
Yeah.
The
only boxes we have in my family is a dog. Okay, that's it, Kimba. That's it. But we'll be doing all kinds of stuff tomorrow. But you know what? I actually like this move.
Yeah, I was going to say, even before this pick came in, you were kind of like, we need some kind of coordinator, younger coordinator who's hungry, right?
Right. And one of those offensive minds, a creative guy. And that seems to be the way it's going. Look at the Phoenix Suns. Look what they did with Jordan Ott. When he got hired, they're like, oh, this guy's never been an NBA head coach before. But I was like, yeah, but he's been in the league for 10 years. Yes, he's young, but he's paid his dues. And then, they were saying, oh, he went to Michigan State, same as the owner. It's just like, no. Like, look, follow the tree. Look at Mike LaFleur, his brother, Matt LaFleur, is the head coach at Green Bay. Jonathan Gannon's there now. You don't think they picked his brain about, hey, coaching for the Cardinals? He coached under, Kyle Shanahan with San Francisco, Sean McVay in the Rams, two guys that have gone to the Super Bowl. McVay's won the Super Bowl. So he's been in the NFL for over 10 years. And I think the Cardinals actually kind of lucked out to get this guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Talk about the challenges that he's facing now with this team, and how much time is he going to get to turn things around?
Excellent question, because the first question might be, are you a magician? Right? Can you make this happen? Because he does. He has a lot of work.
David Copperfield.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you have up your sleeve? Because we need whatever you have.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because and that was bad timing for the Cardinals to be in the market for a new head coach, because at this time it was so many teams looking for a coach, 10 different teams. There were like so many other options. Like if you're a head coach that has options, and you're not 38 years old looking for your first job, and you look at the Ravens, and you're like, well, they've got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. You look at, the Giants, they got Scatterbo and Jackson Dart. You look at the Tennessee Titans, they got Cam Ward. Even the Raiders, they have, Fernando Mendoza, Genti, and a good tight end in Bauer. So it's kind of interesting that the Cardinals were the last team to get a guy. Yeah. But I think it might have worked out in their favor. I really do. I think they liked him. A lot of people are saying, oh, they wanted Kubiak, who ends up going to go to the Raiders, who I liked as well. And they're saying, oh, once he said no, then they said, oh, we want you, Matt LaFleur. Well, we're not sure, because let's say they would have hired Matt LaFleur right away and not even interview Kubiak. People would have said, oh, they're not even doing their due diligence. So you can't really win sometimes with people. But I get it. Fan is short for fanatic. We love the passion. We appreciate the passion. But you got to make sure you interview everybody. So we're not sure if Kubiak said thanks or no thanks to the Cardinals, or he just didn't wow them as like Matt LaFleur did, because they had Mike LaFleur here for a long time, a couple days. And I don't know. I got a good feeling about this guy.
Yeah.
But like you said, sorry.
No, you're right.
He needs help. Right? I said it earlier in the 11 o'clock hour. All the kids, they let him cook. Well, you got to get him some groceries. He's going to have a coaching staff. He's going to have help. And I think because this is his first time as a head coach, it's different when you're actually in the game and when do you throw the challenge flag? How do you manage the clock? To have another guy that's been there and done that before to kind of help you with that, I think will be very valuable for him. Because Cliff Kingsbury came, calling plays, running a franchise, and had never even been in the NFL before. And so at least this guy's been in the NFL for 10 years, seen Kyle Shanahan do it, seen Sean McVay do it, seen his brother do it. So he's got a little bit more of a track record than Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah. What about Kyler's situation? What's going on with that?
That's going to be the major thing. You got to wonder, like these coaches, when they were interviewing for the Cardinals, were they interviewing the Cardinals too? Were they saying, what's the deal at quarterback? What am I going to have when I get here? Or were they using the Kyler situation to get in and say, you know what, I could fix Kyler.
Oh, that's a really good.
I could get him to play.
That's
I
a really
could
good
do
way
this,
to look at it.
right? And if you're Michael Bidwell, you're thinking, well, me, I don't have to eat that contract. I'm already eating Jonathan Gannon's contract. But at the same time, if you're Kyler Murray, do you want to come back after this last season?
Yeah.
Or do you say, okay, the coaches that benched me and went with Jacoby Brissett are gone. Maybe this is a fresh start for me.
Yeah.
So that's going to be that's going to be the next big decision they have to make.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, as we've seen with like Seattle, sometimes the quarterbacks already in the league, they can be pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it just takes a different franchise to bring it out of them.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the Minnesota GM got fired when they look like, the quarterback we just got rid of, that's him? That's him in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
You might have to go,
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Adios.
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's going to be a busy week for you, Richard.
I know. WM Phoenix Open this week as well. We got the Super Bowl, NFL honors, Larry Fitzgerald, possible first ballot Hall of Famer. I hope he's getting in there. We're going to try to talk to him tomorrow before he goes, to the Bay Area for all the, the festivities and stuff. And I think he deserves it.
Yeah.
When you look at what he's done, his consistency throughout the league, it's like Jerry Rice, then him. And you see his loyalty to the Cardinals franchise, the way he's conducted himself. He's a great representation of the National Football League. But when you see a guy like Bill Belichick not get in at the first ballot Hall of Fame, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.